You know the technique, but then how do I go through a process to make sure I'm selecting the correct club and hit video is I'm going to show you 4 different lies around the green, or 4 different scenarios. In each scenario, I'm going to walk you through the steps I want you to start taking so that you feel confident in the club selection, confident in the shot you're about to hit, and then you can go ahead and hit it. So step number 1 is assessing our lie, because that determines where do I want to play the golf ball. So as we can see, this lie's got a lot of grass around it, so I'm going to move this ball forward. Now, step 2 is we have to determine how much green do I have to work with. We probably have, I'd say, 15 feet to work with, so I've selected a 58-degree wedge. But what I'm going to tell you is I want you to be comfortable with the club you select. To me, would I prefer you to have higher loft here? Yes. But if you're like, I don't feel comfortable, go down to a pitching wedge. We can do the same thing. It's just my swing might be longer than yours, because if you have a pitching wedge, you're not going to swing it as hard because it's going to come out hotter. So I've assessed the lie. I've determined how much green I have to work with. Now I have to select a landing point. And for me, I'm going to look at a spot about 3 feet on this green, and I'm going to just start making practice swings where I start to feel, all right, if I bring the club back this far, here's how far the ball's going to want to land. And then once I get in there, I know the ball's up in my stance. I'm feeling my backswing length to determine length of the shot, and then I'm going to get in and hit it. Right, and you can see I landed at about 3 feet on the green. Ball rolled out. I got about a 4-footer for par. So we've hit this one over the green. We have more green to work with between my golf ball and the flag, so I've gone down to a pitching wedge. If you pay attention, last scenario was like a standard chip pitch shot that went a little bit higher, needed to land softer. Here we have a scenario where I can get this ball to roll more, which makes it easier for me. So I first assess the lie, like I do every single time. Ball's sitting up a little bit. That's partly why I've gone to the pitching wedge. I can have clean access to the ball. I'm now going to play this back in my stance because I want to create a little bit more rollout to give myself the opportunity to hit it closer because I have more room for air. So I'm playing the ball back in my stance. I'm again feeling how far of a backswing do I need to make in order to get this ball to go to the hole. I'm chipping uphill here, so I don't have to be worried about getting it past the hole as much. I'm going to be aggressive, get in my motion, and hit my chip. So scenario 2 allowed me to create a little bit more of a bump and run, easier shot to execute because the lie was good. I had more green to work with. So you can see in both scenarios that we've done so far, I've used a 58-degree wedge for one, which I would say was like a stock shot. I've used a pitching wedge for that bump and run. Those are typically my 2 go-to clubs. I don't venture too far away from either one unless the shot requires it. But it's rare that I need to go to like a sand wedge because I can start to do what I need to do with this 58. But I got a scenario where we kind of have a 30-yard pitch shot to this pin that's sitting way back in the green. My lie is a little bit buried, but it's not too bad. The one thing we got to be cautious of, I don't want to hit a shot and have a 30-footer short, right? I want to make sure I get this ball to the hole. So I'm going to hit 2 shots here. So you can see the different trajectory that I would play them based on the club I'm hitting. So I'm going to start with the 58. I'm going to move this ball back in my stance because I want a little more rollout. I don't need it to go crazy high. I want it to land and roll out. So I'm playing this ball back in my stance. I'm feeling how far back I have to bring this golf club to hit the shot. And then I'm going to get in there and hit it. And that ball is going to come out a little bit lower and it's going to roll more, which will help me get it closer to the hole. So now I've switched over to the pitching wedge. And the only difference I'm going to play here is I'm going to play this up in my stance because it only has so many degrees of loft. And I want to get it up, but I also want it to roll, and I know that will happen even though I'm playing it up in my stance. So the lie, again, is not the greatest, and I'm moving it up in my stance, and I'm making the same exact motion that I made with that 58-degree wedge, just slightly less of a backswing. And that ball's going to come out lower, run a little bit more. It makes it easier for you and a bigger room for air to get that ball closer. All right, so we know that we have the opportunity to hit the golf ball anywhere on the golf course, right? And this is common. We have a bunker here. We've short-sided ourselves. We pulled it. Thankfully, we didn't go in the hazard. But we don't have much room to work with. We might have maybe 15 feet to that pin from the edge of the green. My lie is pretty good in the sense of, do I have a lot of grass? I got a little bit of an uphill slope to kind of help me with this situation. And this is where it comes into, do you trust your ability to hit a pitch shot? And I don't mean you haven't practiced. I mean, if you stepped up here with 100 golf balls, can you get every ball to go on the green with the style of pitch you're trying to hit? If the answer is yes, go for it. If the answer is no, we're just finding the largest part of the green and we're going to pitch it that direction. Where people go wrong is they try to do something that they've never practiced and they can't do. Stop trying to be the hero. Take your ego out of it. Chip it somewhere on that green. 2-putt, make bogey, move on. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to hit that flop shot. I do practice it, so we'll see what the result is. When I want to hit the flop shot, I'm doing a couple different things. I'm getting my shoulders to be level with the slope. This ball is going to go forward in my stance. And what I'm trying to make sure is I continue to get to my left because I don't want the slope to pull me back right. So I'm getting to my left. I'm opening that club face up and I'm hitting that flop shot that we all like to see on TV. Landed just barely on the green and released out. Probably got about 5-6 feet left. We'll take that every time. So we went through 4 different scenarios. We walked through, how do we determine the lie? We talked about, how do I go about selecting the shot I want to hit and the club I want to select? I mentioned that it's important that you feel comfortable with the club you are selecting. And with me, I tend to bounce back and forth with a pitching wedge and a 58-degree wedge. Those are my go-to clubs when I'm around the green, and I use a variety of shots to get that ball close to the hole. I want you to comment below which clubs you use around the green. Do you have one favorite, or do you have 2, or do you go all the way up to 5 different clubs? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. I also want to see you like this video and subscribe. I just provided you with great detail and great information. Now I want you to help me out and like the video, subscribe to the channel so you get updates every time I release content. I thank you for watching. Have a great day.